My name's Tamara. This is our BlueLedge webinar, the BlueLedge Connection, Navigating Reporting Challenges Together. So we're so happy to have you guys here with us. I see already some people from Orlando, Chicago, San Antonio, Miami, all over the place, Nebraska. Awesome, you guys. Lots of friendly names I see too. So good to see you guys. Hey, Kristen from Melbourne. um, awesome, you guys. So we have a jam-packed webinar for you tonight, and it's one of the favorite topics that we always get asked to do. There's so many things that you guys deal with as reporters that are not always necessarily a memorizing question or a black and white answer or anything like that. So we wanted to give a platform for you to ask those questions, to talk through them, hear from your peers and our panelist experts on how they would handle certain scenarios. So you can learn from that too. The webinar tonight is an hour and a half. So it is eligible for 0.15 CEUs. You do need to stay the whole time, and we will have a survey that gets emailed out tomorrow that you need to complete in order to get that credit. And once again, when you fill out that credit that gets emailed to you, when you fill out the survey that gets emailed to you, make sure to just hold on for a second after you submit it, and then you'll get your certificate and everything will be set there for you to drop down to AAERT and get your credit for it that way, okay? So that's that for that. For tonight on the topic, we have it a little bit different than we normally do, you guys. So it's packed full of polls. And when I say packed full, I mean every question is a poll, because we want to know what you guys think too. What's your gut reaction? What do you think when you hear these scenarios? And it's a great chance for you to help your peers and also for you to see what your peers think the other way around. So we're really excited about it. I hope you guys enjoy it. I know in these roles, we have so many perfectionists, which make amazing reporters. But also, I want to tell you guys, don't over stress it. Don't overthink it. Just answer the questions kind of quickly and what you think, and just have fun with it. And let's just talk through it after the poll and we see your results. We're going to have the panelists answer and kind of give their thoughts on it and perspective too. So, all right. I hope you guys are looking forward to it. I hope you're all ready to go with the polls, and we'll have a lot of fun that way. Oh, and also don't be shy, because all your answers are anonymous. So if you're shy or worried about that, don't worry about that at all. Okay. So let's see. I'm gonna just keep going. Then we'll go ahead and answer. As you can see, we also have the Q&A box open. We are going to answer questions that you put in the Q&A box at the end. So we will save time for that and do our best to make sure we have time for that as well. So if there's anything that we're not asking that you want to ask the panelists for, by all means, please feel free to start out there too. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and meet our panelists, who I got to say, by the way, you guys, we realized everyone on this panel is attending the Unity conference next week. So we're so excited to get to meet everybody, and I hope if there's any of you coming out, please find everybody and say hi. Let's build that community and do everything. You want to find out more about it, you can on either AAERT or STAR's website. So by all means, feel free. It's starting May 1st. So you can get some more information on how to do that. But besides that, are you guys ready to dive in? We'll get going and let you introduce yourselves.
Yeah.
All right. So let's do it. How about Merritt? You're always my one I pick on. Do you mind starting off and introducing yourself for us?
Definitely. Hello, everyone. So excited to have everybody here and our amazing panelists. My name is Mary Gilbert. I'm the director and lead instructor at BlueLedge. We offer training for digital reporters and legal transcriptionists. Before working at BlueLedge, I became a digital reporter in 2012. I also worked for a court reporting agency for many years, where I hired and trained digital reporters and legal transcriptionists. And I also live in Orlando, so I'm very excited that the conference is coming to me this year, not that far away. So looking forward to it.
Awesome. Thank you. How about we go to our other Orlando person, Miss Jessica?
Representing Orlando, right, Merritt? My name is Jessica Allen, again from Orlando. Super excited as well that the conference is actually coming here, and very excited because I'm currently a digital court reporter with the Ninth Circuit Court here, and we're excited to also be hosting one of the Friday events. If anyone's interested in signing up for that tour, we're excited to be hosting that. Before becoming a digital court reporter for the Ninth Circuit, I also was a freelance digital and also worked as an employee, digital court reporter with an agency as an employee. And before that, I actually graduated from stenography school. So I actually worked as a stenographer for a couple of years, but then turned over to becoming a digital court reporter. And I'm really enjoying this career. So it's about 10 years now as a digital court reporter.
Awesome. Thank you, Jessica. Appreciate it so much. How about you, Kim? You want to go next for us?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Nice to see some Canadians here. So welcome. I'm Kim Neeson. I'm from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I have been in the reporting business this is year 43, I believe. I am a real-time steno writer, and I've been a firm owner, and I am now the director of court reporting for Array, which is a kind of a newer player on the market. So we're starting up in Canada, and there's some Array businesses in the States already. I've worked with all platforms, from steno to voice writing and to digital. So I think it's fantastic that this conference is coming up in particular. I think the time is now to come together, and what the most important thing is the record, and that we capture it and we do an amazing job to prepare it for parties. So I'm looking forward to this discussion.
Love that. Thank you. Lots of love shown to you. I'm seeing some hearts floating across in line with you on all of that too. So last but definitely not least, Miss Sandra, you want to go next for us?
Hi, my name is Sandra Munoz. Welcome to the webinar. I got my start actually in the library reading true crime. So that kind of piqued my interest, and I took a steno course. It was a 6-week trial, and I was like, I don't know about this. So I started scoping for stenos instead. And then along came digital reporting, and I jumped in and I loved it immediately. It is one of my favorite things. I report remotely and in person. And then I met BlueLedge at the conference in Milwaukee and signed up for a course and became a transcriptionist. So I'm doing a little bit of everything, and it's all good. And so I'm looking forward to the conference, and thank you for inviting me tonight.
Awesome. Thank you. We're so happy to have you here with us. So, all right, well, let's get going and start rolling with the questions. Everybody ready to pop off our first poll? Let's see here. All right. So you guys can see it, right? What should you do if a party approaches you during a break and asks what you think about the case? So we have A, offer a brief neutral opinion. B, politely explain that you need to remain impartial. C, change the subject to something non-case related. Or D, say you haven't been paying attention to the content. All right, they're piling in fast. You guys are doing good. I love this. All right, so I know we started you off with kind of an easy one, I got to say, and I think you guys feel the same way, because your results are pretty unanimous for the most part. So let's see, we got 93% going with the one answer. What do you think about that, Merritt? How would you rate that question?
Great job, everyone. But I also wanted to add to this, because it made me think about when I was first starting out as a digital reporter. One of my mentors told me that they would go with option D, which was say you haven't been paying attention, and you're writing, but you're not necessarily like retaining it. But I always did kind of wonder if that was just kind of make them think I wasn't really here and present. So I think just being honest and telling them I have to stay neutral, unfortunately. And yeah, changing the subject also helps after you've said that, but
love that. Yeah, I've heard some say the other answers as well, and I think they're like acceptable to get you through, but there's an even easier way that really takes it off your plate, right? And say you can't. All right, awesome, you guys. Everybody did great. So let's pop off the second one. You ready? We're going to go for it, and we're going to launch the second poll. What should you do if an attorney privately asks you for information about what another party said off the record? Okay, so conversations definitely happen when you're not on the record, people walking around on bathroom breaks or different things happen. How would you handle this? And I got to say, you guys are flying right through this one too. So I'm excited to pop it up and we're going to see. I'm going to ask you, Miss Jessica, this time for your thoughts. So I'm about to pop up the results and let's see. So we got 87% saying B, politely explain that you can't discuss any aspects of the proceeding. What are your thoughts, Jess?
I would agree with that one. Overall, I think as a role as reporters, the professionalism and how we come across and how we say things is important. So first and foremost, no matter how uncomfortable the situation may be or how nervous we may be, first and foremost, that professionalism and just politely responding is the first step. But in this situation, it's also kind of piggybacking on what was said before. It's remaining neutral, but also the confidentiality of the record and how important our role is to the proceedings to remain confidential, and we are not allowed to discuss any of those aspects of the proceedings. So keeping it short and sweet, because sometimes when we're nervous, we may tend to ramble and say more than we need to. So just short and sweet, polite, and that's the great answer right there.
Yeah, perfect. I love your details on that and walking us through that. And it's nice. I noticed how many answered to C as well, which definitely you could do that, but I love that you would follow up with B no matter what. So I think you explained that really well in your comments too, and the way you would do it. So perfect. Great job, you guys. We're all in line. And everybody, I don't say beforehand, but you can move the poll window around. So I'm trying to kind of leave it up so you guys can see too. But anyone in the audience, by all means, you can move it around and stuff if you need to, if it's in your way or anything like that too. Okay. Sorry for missing that. All right. So now let's go to our next one. All right. I'm going to launch it now. What if an attorney sends more exhibits in a post-proceeding email than what they presented on the record and asks you to include them? Certainly, this is something that seems to happen a little frequently, right? Sandra, I'm going to pop this one over to you when we get the results coming in. We'll warm you up for it. We got our answers right here coming in. A, include them all without comment. B, only include exhibits present on the record or presented on the record, sorry. C, include them, but make note of which ones were not presented on the record. Or D, ask the opposing counsel if they object to including the additional exhibits. And it's kind of bouncing around here a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and end the poll and I'll share the results with you. So we have 59% saying only include the exhibits presented on the record. But we have a pretty decently strong 29% saying include them, but make note of which ones were not presented on the record. What are your thoughts on this, Jessica? Sorry, Sandra.
I've actually encountered this, and this is one I sometimes refer back to the agency on what we should be doing, because I was also torn between B and C.
Mhm.
And I think, yes, it's definitely important to note which ones were not presented on the record. Opposing counsel needs that opportunity to object. So this one I thought was a good tricky question. And I was torn as well. So I'm interested to hear the correct answer if there is one.
Yeah, well, you're in the right line, but Merritt, go for it. Why don't you add a little bit extra for us?
I do think you're right about it could be jurisdictional differences. So I knew that in that scenario would essentially it would be C, where you can make them attachments but not exhibits. So you can like provide them, but they wouldn't be considered exhibits. They'd be considered attachments, at least in my jurisdiction. Anybody else experience this?
So I would jump in and say that it would have to be B, only those presented in front of the witness and actually marked as exhibits. Otherwise, other counsel, you don't know if they will object or not object to something being entered. And by putting them in, you're kind of surpassing your neutral role by making a decision to enter something that wasn't presented at the time, or it may have been presented but not marked, and there could have been an objection to it. So I would err on the side of B, but I agree with everyone. It's a tricky question. And I think if you did choose C, at least making the note at least clarifies it. But I would err on the side of B, mainly because the other side has not consented. And unless you're going to go get consent, then you start a whole rigmarole with everybody else. That
Be in the
probably a
middle.
potential argument at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Who needs that? So I was saying, when you go
Yeah.
back and, you'll have to deal with it some other way.
And
So
I also
Yeah.
agree with Merritt in terms of jurisdictional doing transcripts in multiple states. When I give a question like this back to the agency, the answer doesn't always come back as one choice or the other. So I think it does depend. Very, very good, tricky question, Tamara.
Right. Thank you. No, it's, oh, the other thing, I'm so sorry, you guys, you just reminded me too, just super quick, that I didn't mention in the housekeeping part I meant to. So many of these questions, you guys, come from you. They come from the audience and questions that have been submitted to us in the past. So we have a decent amount that we know are real life questions and scenarios that have happened to people that we get asked a lot. But so many of them are from prior submissions that you guys have said you wanted to know an answer to. So, I mean, by all means, it's real life and it is tricky. Like, it happens and we have to be quick on our feet. So thank you so much for those answers. You guys are amazing. All right, so let's kick off then. We're going to go to the next one. And the question is, what if one attorney comes back after everyone is gone and wants to order an original transcript, but asks you not to tell the other parties? Okay, so this one's got a little bit different twist on it. This one's been asked quite a few times too, so I feel like it happens a decent amount. And we have the answers right here. They're shooting right through. If A, fulfill the request as it's not your responsibility to inform others. B, tell the attorney you cannot keep original transcript orders confidential. C, take the order but inform other parties anyway. Or D, suggest the attorney inform other parties as a professional courtesy. All right, so I'm going to end the poll and see what you guys said. Now I'm going to ask you, Miss Kim, if you don't mind, to give us your thoughts on this one. So it looks like 62% are saying tell the attorney you cannot keep original transcript orders confidential. What are your thoughts on this?
yes, and that goes back to being a neutral party that, generally if someone orders, we let the others know. And that I would kind of put it under professional responsibility, and that we can't keep things secret. That's not our role. If it's fine to suggest they might go to their other parties and let them know they're doing it. But I'd be wary of using the words to them, professional courtesy. I think some might take a little bit of umbrage with me schooling them on professionalism. But it does speak to that. So I definitely would go with B in the 62%, that we can't keep them confidential.
All right, perfect. Panelists, you guys all on the same board? Anyone want to fill in anything extra on that one? Good.
Sorry, something that's come up for me before is for copy orders. If a copy order says don't let other people know I ordered a copy, well, it's not actually my responsibility to notify people of copy orders. I just have to make sure that everybody knows that the original order happened, to give them an opportunity to buy the copy. So if that question was worded differently, it said copy transcript instead of original, my answer would have been different, but definitely B for this.
Perfect. I love that distinction because I think that's a great thing to keep in mind too, especially newer and starting out. We got to consider those differently. So thank you, Merritt, for bringing that. Appreciate it.
Where I just add to that because people know the original is ordered, sometimes people don't get instructions until later on. So I agree with Merritt. If you order a second copy, it's fine. Like, the original's already been ordered, so everybody kind of knows that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, perfect. All right, well, let's go. We're going to ask another one here on the same kind of line of thoughts. What do you do if you notice the witness's attorney is telling the witness how to answer while on the record? And this definitely has happened to somebody. This is definitely a prior question from someone in the audience. And let them know what you think you would do. You A, ignore it, continue on the record. B, note it in the transcript as a parenthetical. C, alert the questioning attorney. D, alert the judge. Or E, interrupt and ask for clarification on who is answering. All right, so get your answers in. It's still moving around a lot, but I'm gonna go ahead and end it now. All right, so here's the results. And you can see people were trying to decide a little bit between two main ones specifically. Merritt, I'm gonna ask you your thoughts on this. Between A and E, or are you gonna go with something else? What were your thoughts on this question?
For this one, the answer is A, because our role, our whole goal is to be impartial and take down the record. We don't want to interfere on anything that could affect the outcome of the case. So we just ignore it and we continue on the record. I get why people are saying E, but it is hinting to what's happening. And I feel like that puts us right in the middle, and we don't want to be in that spot.
Can I add, is it hinting or is it identifying the speaker?
Oh, well, if you're hearing an actual voice, I was thinking of it like maybe it was a notepad or like something nonverbal happening, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah, and that's a great way to signify and answer which way is going to, because if they're telling them in certain ways and scenarios, you say something that they're telling them the answer, you certainly could be seen as taking the other attorney's side, or vice versa, along the lines of what you were saying there, Merritt, too, right? I mean, it's not, you got to be careful to walk that line of neutral. But absolutely, Karen, yeah, if it's impacting the record and what you're hearing and the crosstalk, we'll get into some more of that too, because that's absolutely valid, right? You got to hear and know what's being said and done.
But if you're hearing counsel say something, you write it or you record it. The lawyer could say something, the witness can say something, the lawyer can say something, the witness. It's really up to opposing counsel, questioning counsel, to control their deposition. It's not your job to do it. If you hear it, you take it down. It's on the record.
Yeah, whatever you're hearing, a perfect way to sum it up. Thank you for that.
And I was just going to add, like in our roles, especially like live jobs or when you're right there in the middle of everything in depositions, we're going to see a lot of things that are pretty much uncomfortable, inappropriate, or something that's outside our comfort zone. So the chances are that it's going to be more of those situations that we will be put, or, as reporters that you're put in. So our job is really to capture the record. Outside of that, we are going to be put in situations where it might be a little uncomfortable or something that we haven't seen before. So just like Merritt was saying, it's just taking the record down and making sure that we capture it.
And I wonder if that high 50% is coming from those who are working remotely. Sometimes we have, an attorney and a client, or even multiple in one box on Zoom. They're in one room together, and you can't tell who's speaking because they're off camera, and you can hear a voice but not know who's answering. So perhaps they were reading it that way too.
And I like that. If it is a verbal, you're hearing the attorney, then I agree. Like, because it's verbal, then we got to get it down. Then we have to do our job. So agreed.
Yeah. Very good. All right. Perfect. Love it. Great food for thought on all of those. And we're going to hop over. We're going to go to a topic under record management and technical issues and answer some questions along there. See what you guys think. All right. So let's pop off the first one. It says, during a trial, the judge calls attorneys for a sidebar conference, but doesn't specify if it should be on or off the record. What should you do? A, always stay on the record for sidebars unless specifically told not to. B, don't stay on the record for sidebars unless specifically told to. D, ask the judge for clarification. Or D, stay on the record, but note it as a sidebar conference. All right, so we got a lot of answers still coming in and moving around a lot. I'll give you guys a little bit of room to answer this one first. I think I'm going to throw this one to you, Jessica, first. If you want to get ready for it, I'm about to end it now. And here's our results. So we got about 30, 30, 30 split Three-way. So let's see our different scenarios. Maybe they're all right. What do you think, Jessica? What's your experience and how do you feel about this?
Well, for us, we remain on the record unless the judge otherwise states that we're off the record. But there are situations, since we're remote, taking the record of the courtrooms, but during a trial, if there's ever any question, we can literally just dial in and for clarification say, just to be sure, because sometimes the mute button gets hit on accident or something is a little off. So if there's ever a doubt, there's no hesitation in asking for that clarification. But for the most part, anytime it's a trial and there's a sidebar, it's always on the record unless the judge states otherwise.
Perfect answer. Well said. I love that. I don't know if anybody has anything else they want to say, but I just got to say, even just the fact that you just bring out to always ask if you're not sure, that's such an important theme that I think we'll see in a lot of scenarios. So is there anything that anyone else wanted to add to that? No, we're
Great.
good.
Perfect.
Okay, perfect. All right. So let's then move along to the next one, you guys. We're doing good. I was worried we wouldn't have time. We'd be running slower, but so far we're doing good. You guys are answering these questions really fast. I'm so excited that we can go through a lot. All right. So let me go then and launch the next one. All right. What do you do when an attorney or judge asks to mark a part of the proceeding confidential, but then doesn't tell you when the confidential portion ends? Okay. Assume it ended at the next topic change. Interrupt to ask if the confidential portion is over. Mark the entire remaining proceeding as confidential, or wait until the end and ask which portion should be confidential. So I see you guys going through or answering these. And let me make sure I'm caught up. Notes. All right. So let's see here. Coming in, I'm going to go ahead and end the poll on this one. And Kim, I'm going to ask you for your thoughts on this. We're getting another pretty close to 50-50 split between interrupt to ask if the confidential portion's over or wait until the end. What do you think?
Oh, yes, this is a 50-50 question. I would say half the time I've interrupted and half the time I've waited till the end because there just wasn't time in the mix to, or I thought maybe they were still in confidential, but then I got thinking about it. I'm like, oh, I don't know if they were. My preference is to try and catch it in the moment and to quickly say, are we in or out of confidential? But sometimes it does happen that you just can't for whatever reason. So then I do default to D, which is wait until the end or to break. And or sometimes if they're taking a breath and maybe we've gone a little ways, I might say, can you tell me where that last confidential bit ended, or are we still in it? Especially if it's a really long, heavy day. But I can see why people are split on this one because it's a tricky one for sure. And we hate when they go in confidential because it's always a pain in the neck to do the transcript. But, that would be my answer.
And I would add to that whether you interrupt or if it's towards the end, making sure that the conversation of when it should be done, the confidential part should be over, have that conversation on the record. So there's no like off the record and they explain this and then they say something later that it was supposed to be something else. It's all on the record.
Very good point. Love that. So say you chicken out to ask, but until you're off the record and then you do find out, you would want to get back on the record and restate
If
when
possible. Like, do you mind if we just quickly, can you stipulate on the record? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's always better.
I love that. Perfect. Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, let me stop that one and then go on to the next one. All right. So what should you do if your primary recording device fails during a proceeding and you've confirmed that your backup recorder is working properly? All right, so we already know there's going to be a major panic moment, right? What are you guys going to decide to do? A, continue with backup devices only and note the issue. B, immediately stop the proceeding and request a recess. C, wait for the person talking to stop speaking and then interrupt to ask for a recess. D, ask to restart that portion of the proceeding, or E, notify all parties and then let them decide how to proceed. All right, so we still got a little bit of movement going on everybody answering this one. And I'm gonna shoot this one over to you, Miss Sandra, to answer. So get ready, they're
hoping.
coming at you soon. She's like, yes, send it my way. All right, and in the poll, sorry for those of you who are still going, but let's share the results and see where we landed.
Wow.
So we had about 45% wait for the person talking to stop. What are your thoughts, Sandra? What's the wow in your mind?
The split, I thought it would be, mostly one choice, but I think maybe because in the question it says you've confirmed your backup recorder is working, might be what's causing the split. If I know that my backup is working and I have the ability to confidence monitor my backup, so I know that it's working, I would choose C for myself and wait for the person, and then resolve the issue with the main backup, because I know that I captured a clean record during that issue. But maybe if you took out the word confirmed, then I would stop immediately. But if I know the backup's working, yeah, answer choice C for me.
Yeah, that's fair. I think I'm definitely in line with you on that one. Anyone else on the panel, you guys want to fit in what your thoughts are on that? Agree with that one. I would say the only other thing to add to it is just make a note very kindly for your production team and your transcriptionist, right? That there is going to be a missing blip on your main audio. Keep that in check. Yeah.
We've got to help out as much
Yeah.
information as possible, right?
It's usually in all caps in my annotations. Help.
Here's where I died for a short moment.
I was just
all right.
Go
Go ahead.
Equipment and stuff and like the word confirmed, because this is why like the night before it's always good to check all your backups and stuff, the batteries, because if you have confirmed and you're on the job, it's like a safety measure if you've done your checklist the night before. So if a situation like that arises, you're like, okay, my backups are ready to go. But like Sandra said, that's a very big but if that word confirmed wasn't in there, because that just changes the whole way on how to stop that proceeding. So if you have confirmed, which usually if you do it the night before, it's like a nice little reliever of a situation like that happens the day of a proceeding.
Perfect. Love that clarification. Thank you. All right. I'm going to stop it and pull up the next one. Let's go and see what you guys would say on here. Oh, hold on. Wait, just bear with me because I see my questions renumbered. Okay. All right. Found it. All right. So I'm launching it and we have you're the reporter covering a remote proceeding where the witness continues to have unclear audio after exhaustive attempts to troubleshoot. What should you do? Continue and do your best to type everything heard? Interrupt immediately to address the audio issue? Wait for a natural break to mention the audio problems, or ask the attorney to repeat each question after the witness answers. All right, they're flying in. Still got a lot of people answering, so let me give it just a moment. And then let's see, how about, I'll let one, I was going to say who I'm going to throw this one to. I'm going to throw this one to Merritt, if you don't mind answering this one for us. I'm going to end it and share the results.
Oh, wow.
All right. Resoundingly.
Yes. So what I thought was interesting about this question is it has the exhaustive attempts language. And it's like, okay, well, I've done everything I can. You think maybe I don't have to keep on interrupting and asking them to repeat themselves, but you absolutely do. And of course, think creatively of other solutions, like if it is a video conference job and maybe them dialing in, or just maybe them moving into a different room of their home or office if they have better Wi-Fi in a different location. But you can't just think I've asked them to repeat themselves 20 times. I don't have to ask them to repeat themselves anymore. You have to keep asking and
keep exhausting yourself.
Yes.
Right.
From the transcriber side too, I appreciate when the reporter is interrupting and getting that clear
Yeah.
record, because, you know, I can't hear it either. You know, if I'm listening to that audio and trying to transcribe that record, you know, there's
Yeah.
no way of knowing what
Perfect.
they were saying. So it's
You can't
really
recreate
important.
it later.
Yeah, it also shows on the record that there were audio issues.
That's true, which is great for the production team and the client and everybody involved on that side too. And I got to say, you brought that out, Sandra. And I was looking at Amy, her comment too. She said I answered that question as a transcriptionist, so she was right on the same path as you. Like, please just keep interrupting, please, please. So great job, you guys are awesome. All right, let's go here then. I'm going to go to the next one, and we're going to go down now to challenging interpersonal situations. So different things that can pop up along those lines. And I'm going to launch this question for you guys. How should you handle a situation where the interpreter and witness have a lengthy conversation that is not translated in full? So do you allow it to continue without interruption? Note in the record that a full translation was not provided. C, ask the interpreter to provide complete translations. Or D, ask the questioning attorney to address the issue. It's a pretty sticky one, right? Because you're getting into different roles and things on how we, work with each other. So I'm going to go ahead and start rounding it out. Kim, I'm going to shoot this one to you first, if you don't mind. And it looks like we're at a good spot. I'm going to share the results. So about 45% say allow it to continue without interruption. And then the rest are kind of split throughout on their answers. What's your thought on this?
Absolutely is not our role to interfere with that. That is up to the attorney. You know, if you got da 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 da, yes, it's obvious that there was a lot more going on than the yes. Our role is not to, you know, referee the deposition. Our role is to take down the record. That's the record. If the attorney is not on the ball enough to caution the interpreter that to interpret everything that is being said, that's on the attorney. The last thing we want to do is get involved in that. So I think a resounding A for me is the answer here.
Perfect. And it looks
I
like the
also
audience
said
is definitely, yeah, go ahead.
it's impossible to know. Sometimes I've heard languages I've never heard in my life. So how do we know that they're doing that? You know, we don't always know.
Yeah. And that ties in perfect to Noelle's comment. Oh, if I don't lose it. Okay. She's just said, you can never tell the interpreter what to do. That's the interpreter's certification on the line, not yours. And I like that that's in line exactly with what you just said too, Sandra, right? Like we're not the certified interpreter there. We're not the attorney that's there to strategically make sure the case is handling right. We're there to take the record, like Kim said. So
And I think
perfect.
the other thing, Tamara, too, is that to note in the record that a full translation was not provided, it's not in our purview to make that judgment call. Again, we don't know what's being said. So that's not our role at all. The attorney can say, it appears, Madam Interpreter, that you are not translating everything that is being said, you know, and I've had those comments before. But it doesn't lie for us. That's not our job.
And can I say, in case we have any interpreters in the participants tonight, I love interpreters that say, the interpreter is asking for clarification. One moment.
Yes.
So helpful.
And I was going to add to what Sandra was saying earlier, not understanding if it's a different language, but I remember at a previous job, one of our managers said, because of the Spanish translations, that if you do understand what is being said, because for those Spanish speakers that can understand that, it's like you just got to shut that side of your brain because you are processing what is being said. But again, it is not our job, even if you do understand what the interpretation in that language is being said. So sometimes you just got to shut that part of your brain out, because I know instinctively it's like, wait, what just happened? But that's not our role, even if you do understand what they're saying.
Another way of like always keeping it straight in your mind too is like, I'm just taking down the English, like
right.
100% of the time, just taking down the English, it helps. One thing I want to add about this conversation is I used to work for a court reporting agency that I mean, 99% of the jobs I went on that had an interpreter, we hired the interpreter, the court reporting agency I worked for. So I'd always like have it in my mind, like, oh, like I want to help them do a better job because like, oh, ultimately, like this is gonna look bad on us. So what I would recommend in that scenario is just bringing it up to your employer, the court reporting agency, as like a courtesy, like, hey, maybe talk to this interpreter, or just help them understand how to do it properly, or maybe not use them again if it was that egregious.
All right, perfect. And you even got an amen, Merritt, when you said about you're just taking down the English. So definitely have spoke the words that speak to the heart on that one. All right, I'm going to hop us over to the next question. You guys are ready? Launch it out. So what if a situation arises where you followed protocol, but an attorney is extremely upset with you, the reporter? And this one we have, you guys, where you can actually rank them in order. So it's just a little bit different. You might need to kind of resize your screen maybe to be able to do it and process it through. But we wanted to get your thoughts because like what we're seeing on all of them, there's certain things you might do in certain ways. So what would you do first? What would you do second? What would you do third? And what would be your last choice or your fourth choice? So I'll give you a little bit of extra time to kind of think through on this one and what you guys would do. There's certainly so many different scenarios. And this also was a real life scenario in question that we had from an audience member. And certainly we know can happen because when you're dealing with people, right? It can go so many ways. Yeah. Awesome. All right. Very cool. They're still running through a lot. I think I might throw this one to you first, Jessica, if you're feeling good about it. And then it looks like it's studying out. So let me go ahead and I'm going to end the poll now. You guys, I'll give you 3, 2, 1. All right. So I'm going to share the results and I want to give us a minute to like interpret them because obviously we have, it's just laid out a little bit different. So the majority choice, say their first choice is stand firm, but remain respectful and professional. Okay. And then the higher winner for the second choice is the purple is kind of split, honestly, a little bit between all of them, but maybe a little bit predominantly B is getting the second choice too. So a lot of people are liking that answer, but they're not sure which way they want to lay it out. And then we have the for the third choice is kind of resoundingly between involve a supervisor or firm owner to mediate. So you've done a couple things first, or document the incident and continue with the proceeding. What are your thoughts, Jessica? If you're kind of going through on this, you're certainly a very diplomatic and even-keeled person. What do you think you would choose?
Well, from the agency side, as a digital working with an agency, I do believe that professional stand, and even if somebody's upset and it's you did everything wrong, as human relations, people want to be heard. So just saying, well, I'm sorry you feel like, apologizing for whatever the situation, but firmly go into the next step, which is stand firm, respectfully in a professional way on what was done protocol wise. I do believe, and there's some agencies that I've worked with that are very good in any situation where you're feeling like, well, maybe I should involve a manager, go ahead and do so. So that open door policy is there where you can actually have your manager maybe step to the side and talk to that individual attorney. So I feel like some agencies provide that open door opportunity where you can have that manager right on the phone and call and just let them know what's going on. Because at the end of the day, it is an agency relationship. So you do want to maintain that professionalism on behalf of the agency. It is a client at the end of the day. And then, obviously document the situation, but I do believe in standing firm in that respectful, professional way that also communicates what you have done in the correct way. I don't believe in the apologizing and I am so sorry I'm so sorry what I did, and making the person feel like there's something you did wrong. That's where the standing firm and the neutral balance is comes into play, but also if it's something that you feel you can't handle on your own, definitely bring in a manager from your agency to mitigate that situation. So
Yeah, perfect. I think you said that beautifully, and addressed all the different ways to come through with that. And I even love the distinction that you made on that between the apologizing, on which way you stand from a humble standpoint, but also standing firm in your position. So perfectly said. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So let's go on then to our next one. All right. You guys are doing great. And we're going to launch it now. What am I supposed to do when an attorney is clearly harassing a witness? A, continue reporting without intervention. B, suggest a break to allow tensions to cool. C, ask if the witness needs a moment. Or D, note objectionable behavior in your personal notes. All right. So
Say objection, argumentative.
It would fit in pretty nice there, right?
I
Like,
do
right? If
use
only
the
you had that
asked and
power.
answered with my children often.
Good one.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Or
Love it.
husband.
All right, very cool. I'm going to end it. This one, you guys popped in like immediately, all your answers. So I think everybody had that pretty clear. Is there anything else you would say on this? Any of you guys, the panelists?
Hopefully they're represented by their own counsel.
Did you say that again more time? Hopefully they're represented by their own counsel. Is that what
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Exactly. And they step in and take care of that. All right. Perfect. Love it. And Merritt, my kids are a little old for the asked and answered. I wish I knew that like several years
That's a
ago.
good one.
Perfect.
They know what that means.
Yeah, like man, that's great. Starting them young. Got the family of attorneys already starting. All right, let's move on to the next one and see what you guys think. I hope everybody's enjoying this. You guys are doing so great with it, and it's great to see what everybody is thinking on it. This is such an exciting way to hear from you guys in the audience too. So I'm going to pop this one off. When the questioning attorney is constantly cutting off the witness, how should you handle that? A, continue reporting without intervention. B, focus on capturing the attorney's questions completely. C, politely request that the witness be allowed to finish. Or D, note in the transcript when answers were interrupted. All right. And this is one of my favorite questions because actually Merritt and I kind of went talking through the different scenarios of this one too, and some of the keywords in the question, and how we thought that impacted things too. So I'm excited to see what you guys think. And I already kind of let the cat out of the bag that I was going to shoot this one to you, Merritt. So, all right, let me go ahead and end the poll. It looks like it's pretty leveled out. And we got A, continue reporting without intervention, and C, politely request that the witness be allowed to finish. It's the exact two we talked about back and forth on the pre-thing too. So what are your thoughts, Merritt?
So I can totally see why A and C were pretty split there. So yeah, when we were talking about the language, like cutting them off, the distinction is, are they speaking over one another? Is there crosstalk? Are they speaking simultaneously? If they are speaking simultaneously, then you do need to interrupt. But if the witness is just does stop talking, even though you can tell they're not done, and then the attorney cuts in, then you wouldn't need to intervene. If you can hear every single word, then you can report without interrupting. But if they're talking over each other, it's a different story.
Yeah, perfect. And I love what Allison said in the webinar chat too. She said frustrating, but the attorney may be using it as a tactic, ? Which absolutely is true, which is why we have to be so careful of that line too, right? Where is our place to stand up? What are your thoughts on that, Kim?
Yeah, I think it's that fine line where Merritt's talking about, are they just trailing off because they're allowing the attorney to jam right in there, or if they're actually it's really kind of, you just know they're cutting them off and they're like, their mouth is open, ready to say something. And then I would usually intervene and say, counsel, can you let the witness answer I need to I need a clean record. I need to hear the question and the answer. And I will intervene in those cases because it's impossible. Otherwise, the transcript's a mess. And they're going to say it's my fault, but it's not, because so there's a lot of comments about the dashes because that's what it's going to be, a transcript full of dashes. But I can't take two people at a time. It's hard to hear two people at a time. And it also makes it really hard to prepare a record at the end of the day. As a shorthand reporter, I cannot take two simultaneous voices at the same time. But besides that, why do I want to have to struggle so much if I was dealing with a recording either? Because they're on top of each other. Now I got to single out this channel or that channel. There's a reason why people shouldn't speak at the same time. So I really do try not to intervene, but there are absolutely times where I think you have to.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, reading the room again is a big part of that, and determining what is actually impacting your record versus,
What feels uncomfortable.
personal manners. Yeah. Yeah, perfect. Okay. All right. So let's pop over to the next one. What should you do if you start feeling ill during a proceeding that is expected to last several more hours? A, push through without mentioning it. B, request a brief break to address your needs. C, ask if the proceeding can end early and reschedule. Or D, see if another reporter can take over. So we got another one here where we're going to have you rate it: first choice, second choice, third, or fourth. Certainly there's different things depending on what it is and how you guys feel on this one. So love to get your take on it. And I think I don't know if this is fair. I was going to shoot this one to you, Jessica, but I made you answer the other one that was a rating one first. So I don't know if that's fair. Maybe I'll shoot it over to Sandra. How do you feel about it, Sandra? You ready to
This
go?
is tough. I've
Yeah.
kind of been in this situation, and it kind of depends on what the illness is, if it's something that can wait or
Yeah. And
not.
I think that's the key too.
So
And
I'm looking at the answers here. Yeah,
Yep.
I'm looking at the answers. Request the brief break to address your needs. So, yeah, if it's something that I know that I can handle pretty quickly, I think that that's probably a really great choice. Pushing through, definitely. There have been times where I just needed to cover the camera for a moment to blow my nose. So those can be pushed through. I say rule number one in court reporting, though, is always use the restroom before it starts. Just get everything taken care of. But I think D, definitely, if you're feeling very sick and you're not going to finish, I can't imagine ever using C. That would be my last choice if I were ranking these. So for my rank, I think I would follow pretty much what they have here: B, A, D, then C.
I had an occasion once where I got the stomach flu. And I'm literally, I took Gravol. I'm literally there turning green. And
Oh, no.
it was about, I pushed through till about 4 o'clock. And I finally said, would you mind if, I knew we couldn't get anybody else over. I said, would you mind if we ended early? Because I'm really feeling ill. And I got the dirtiest of looks, but I'm like, do you want me to barf on your table? Like, I'll push through a headache. I'll push through muscle cramps. I'll push through almost anything, but really, so I think Sandra's and everyone's right. There's these like levels that we go through. So, but it has happened once in my career.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're still human, right? We still have things that literally we cannot just be a wall and work through. So yeah, the reasonableness of seeing what that is makes perfect sense.
I can give you a funny one. I just remembered one other. When I was just starting, I was working in court, and it was the lawyer's first big jury address, and I was pregnant. And I'm writing, and I've got really lightheaded, and I just, Your Honor, I think I'm going to faint.
Oh,
And
no.
down my head went.
Oh my goodness.
So
Oh,
that
no.
lawyer and I cross paths every once in a while. We always laugh about that. So there's that too.
The emojis are killing me right now.
I know, me too. I saw that coming through too. I was like, oh my goodness. No.
You're human.
Well, it's only up the hill from there, Kim. So what else?
Yeah.
Oh.
Out of the way.
All right, awesome. Well, let's kick off the next one and see how this one goes. Let's see. Do you ask the attorney if they want to mark an exhibit as soon as they show it? All right. We've got, sorry, I got interrupted with a pop-up that asked me to confirm if I was speaking English. So that threw me off for a second. I don't know. Okay, yes, I am. My bad. So you guys, you're picking these and rating them. Merritt, can you confirm for me? Because my view over here is a little wonky on this one. No, Sandra, what is it? I see it different than you guys do.
0
Sorry.
through 5, but it it
Is
just
there like
says
a
0,
next
1,
Okay.
2.
option?
Okay. All right. So let's rate them here on what you guys think you would do on this scenario. Again, definitely depends a little bit sometimes on what's going through. So we're going to have you answer it. And then, oh, you guys don't even have like answers in here? Can you even see what the
Yeah,
choice
there's
is?
no option. The options.
No, okay.
Yeah.
No wonder why it looks confusing on this side. All right. Well, I love the audience for answering. So now we're just going to know what people's favorite answers are. Okay, like their favorite number. So I'm going to go ahead and you guys can see what their favorite number is. Okay. Everybody loves the number 0. So the answer to the questions to this was, are you going to always confirm immediately if they want to mark an exhibit? Okay, let me re-ask this. I'm sorry, you guys. Do you ask the attorney if they want to mark an exhibit as soon as they show it? Yes. Always confirm it immediately. Do you wait until they explicitly mention marking it? Do you ask only if they reference it, but don't clearly mark it? Or do you follow the attorney's lead and establish practice? Sandra, what do you think? Can you help me out on this one?
I
Maybe.
Yeah, usually wait until they explicitly mention marking it. But occasionally I can see where asking them is better. Especially if they've been doing it and then suddenly they stop. Just a quick, are we marking that one? Usually gets a quick answer.
Yeah. Yeah, because this can be strategic too. Did you have something you were about to say, Merritt? I couldn't tell. Sorry.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was thinking too. Like if we're marking 1, we're marking 2, we're marking 3, then and they bring up this next one and they don't mark it. Generally they are going to, but if you've kind of noticed they've brought up in the document, they didn't mark it, they brought up a document, they marked that one, they might not be marking all of them, but I think that's perfect.
Yeah, I try not to interrupt them because sometimes they don't want to mark it or, like you've said before, strategy. Unless I can tell they're most likely just forgetting that one, then I'll go ahead and work it in there very quickly.
If it's
Okay.
in person and they've started, passing it to me to mark, and they stop saying it, they just keep passing it to me, then I assume they want me to mark. Like I usually do a bunch up in advance and I'm literally taking the label off and putting it on so they can see I'm doing it.
Yeah.
But that's more in person. It's different on virtual, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely not as clear when you're on virtual too, right? For sure. All right. And I like what Andre, I hope I said that right, says also ask before the proceeding starts too. I've heard of reporters doing that, which is nice. You could do that as a part of your housekeeping and kind of set expectations if the attorneys want you to ask or clarify or not. So that's a great tip too. Thanks so much. And sorry I like messed that all up, you guys. I'm sorry, that was my bad. I won't do it again. I'll try my best. All right. So the next one we'll see, we're going to go on this one. All right. It's all there. That's good. You arrive at a proceeding and discover the room is extremely noisy with poor acoustics. What's your best first step? A, set up additional microphones in strategic locations. B, request a different room before beginning. C, ask everyone to speak louder than normal. Or D, proceed, but note the challenging conditions in your report. So I might pop this one over to you first, Jessica. I know you have some different scenarios in the courthouse and with audio that you guys have set up. Maybe is more, you don't have the fluidity, but you might sometimes too. So I would definitely love to get your thoughts on this one. And it looks like it's about leveled out. So let me go ahead and in the poll, there's a couple more people changing their answers or adding. All right, I'm going to share the results. So about 50-50 between the first two options, set up additional microphones in strategic locations, or request a different room before beginning. So from your standpoint in the courtroom, is this something specific that you guys have protocol around? How do you handle this?
I mean, courtroom wise, the acoustics is the acoustics. So we have to adjust and keep calling in the courtroom every single time if there's anything with acoustics, because unfortunately, every single courtroom has different acoustics. But I was gonna say, as a digital freelancing before, I think this is why it was always, and this is just personal, why it was always so important to go early to a job because of situations like this. So if there is an opportunity where you're there early, you're like greeting everyone, is there an opportunity to maybe choose another room with better acoustics and you have enough time to set up your extra microphones and everything? I think that is the beauty of going early to jobs and being prepared for situations like this. If that isn't a choice, then the microphones, setting up additional microphones would be the plan. So always going prepared with additional microphones to be set up for situations with acoustics. But I always was one that regarding time, just to get that anxiety out of the way, because this was always the what ifs. So situations where if it was a deposition room or an office, I was able to move into another room where it was better acoustics, or maybe not next to another party where you could hear other people talking right next door. So I think scoping the room is very important to arrive early at a job. But again, that was just, I'm speaking personally, like how I manage those situations, and always being prepared with extra microphones.
And
Love
Tamara,
that.
I can add to this one.
I was going to throw it to you next. I loved
my
what you
goodness.
had as a scenario. So go for it.
I had a public meeting and I showed up and it was in a middle school gymnasium. The ones that we all have played, you know, volleyball and basketball in. It was noise bouncing all around the room. And I think there were probably 150 people in the stands. They had a amplifier or some kind of carpool system they were using to it was awful. So having not only additional microphones in strategic locations was helpful, but I also brought I have some mic stands, and so I put them because the public was able to come up and also, you know, give comments. I had them set up in different places in the room, and I was able to adjust the gain and monitor through. I hooked into their sound system and was able to adjust the gain there to get it from sounding like Charlie Brown's principal to something that could be transcribed pretty easily. But whoo, I was so grateful for all my extra equipment.
Yeah, awesome. Love it. And you spoke to so many things in there with the confidence
the extra room
monitor.
wasn't, the
Yeah,
different room wasn't an
option.
option.
Well, I tell you, Allison in the chat said that's literally her nightmare. So she's feeling with you on that you made it through. And I want to give quick props to Kara Kay, who said this happened to her today for an in-person as a freelance she did. And she rocked it out and made it work because she had her whole kit and was prepared. So see, that's awesome. That's what it's all about. Love it. Love all the tips and everything. You guys are amazing. And then let's see here. All right. So now we're going to pop over to a couple of questions on the career development and industry outlook kind of world. I'm going to launch the first one here. It says, how do you handle arriving at a proceeding as a digital reporter to find that the attorneys were expecting a stenographer? So certainly something that happens still. You know, people have gotten more used to it and are more prepared in how to answer this, but let's help each other out, especially some of the newer ones. And this is a ranking one too. So what would you say, you know, absolutely you would do, maybe you would do, or, you know, as a last resort, you know, that you would do on this one? And I'm going to throw this one over to you, Merritt, when we get the results coming in. And it's pretty much leveling out a little bit on here. And then let me hop over. I'm going to go ahead. Oh, it's still going. I was going to stop it, but then it started popping in a little bit more people putting in their votes. So let's see. Okay. All right. I don't know if people are changing or more people are adding in. I can't tell. All right. I'm going to end it now in 3, 2, 1, and poll. All right. And share the results. So The absolutely answer was to explain your qualifications and digital reporting process. That's what seemed to have won the most votes on that one. And perhaps the second, it's kind of tied between the other three. And then the winner for the last resort would be the offer to reschedule if they strongly prefer a stenographer. What are your thoughts, Merritt?
That's spot on with how I would handle it. Absolutely. I feel like you need to educate and reassure them that although you are using different technology, different capture method, you are there to serve the same purpose. You're going to have the same work product at the end of the day, a verbatim quality transcript. And, I think part of that also is your professionalism, the way you're dressed, the way that you behave, the way the handshake, if you're in person, eye contact, hello, how are you? My name is, so nice to meet you. Those pieces also help reassuring them that they're in good hands and experienced hands. And for those of you who may not be as experienced, if you come with a confidence, then it's not gonna have them questioning, all of those other pieces to it. So being prepared, being early, all of those things are going to contribute to them feeling confident in your abilities.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Anyone else want to contribute? I feel like that was so well said, but we're good.
I'm sure there's more.
I
All
just
righty.
echo what Merritt said too about, dress the part. If you kind of don't take care to look like a professional, because people, for right or for wrong, judge us first glance that, they look at us and make a judgment. So the more you can dress, kind of dress for success, dress as somebody you can trust me. I'm a put together person. I got this. How you present will communicate a lot of that.
Yeah.
And that professional attitude.
I
Perfect.
was
Yeah.
also going to add, and I know there was a webinar that was done on like elevator pitches, or how to have that like in the back of your pocket, just like your 30-second or 1-minute spiel, that if a situation like this comes up, you are ready with who you are as far as your certifications, as far as a digital court reporter, and everything that Meredith says. So it's like boom, boom, boom. You don't have to think about it, and actually like practice it in front of the mirror. So if an attorney ever questions your qualifications or anything, you're ready and just prepared. So I do think there's something to be said about just having your elevator pitches ready as far as your qualifications, certifications, because it will happen at some point throughout your career. So
Yeah, absolutely. And we had a question, how can we find the elevator pitch webinar? The one you're referring to is the one during the DCRT week that
DCRT,
Matt had.
yeah.
Matt was the host, right? So is it AAERT
It was during the
webinar?
DCRT, yes.
Yeah. You guys could, at the very least, please don't kill me, Matt. You could email aaert@aaert.org and he can hook you up. But there was great. And there was actually a drawing and everything too. If someone submitted their test, their elevator pitch, and she did such a great job, the lady that won. So yeah, that was a great reference to bring that one up too, because it definitely helps with the confidence and being prepared and everything like that. So great point. Thanks for bringing that up too. All right, so let me pop in another one for you guys to answer for your peers and everyone too. So for people that are just starting, what advice would you give them? And this one also is kind of a rank order. Obviously, there's tons of advice, and you could even pop more in the chat if you guys want to, other things that aren't on here, because there's so many things. But maybe first give us your answers on these. What do you put the priority to? Is it focus on speed and efficiency? Build strong technical skills before seeking complex assignments? Find a mentor in the industry? Or join professional associations and attend continuing education? What do you guys think for that one? Let's see, I'm coming through on here, and I'll probably go ahead and shoot this one over to you, Miss Sandra. And it's leveling out a little bit. And then let's go ahead and end the poll and see what you guys say. All right. So a little bit more leading towards the build strong technical skills before seeking complex assignments as their first choice. What do you think you would rank as maybe your top advice you'd give, Sandra?
I said the same thing. It's really important to know your equipment. And that also goes towards that last question about, especially when you're in person, being confident when you walk in the room, you know your equipment, you're capable and they're in good hands. I also agree that C and D are very important. Um, Joining professional organizations and attending continuing education, even like this webinar, we learn from each other, and we're always learning something new. I'm learning tonight, as I always do. But I think all of those are great. Speed and efficiency, not so much. The equipment takes care of that. But maybe on the transcriber side, that's a good one. But I agree with them. B for sure.
Very good. And I
In
saw
that order.
Carolyn.
Yeah, B, C, D.
Yeah, and I saw Carolyn Blakesley seemed to agree with you too on that. She said she would say accuracy rather than efficiency. Focus on speed and accuracy, which that's a great point, 100% to give as advice. So thank you for that, Carolyn, too. All right, perfect. Well, then let's go. I got another one for you guys. And then we can hop over to any other questions we have out there in the question box. We'll go through some of those, but let's ask this one real quick first. So your last poll coming at you. How do you overcome any potential feelings of anxiety when it comes to needing to interrupt a proceeding or judge? A, remind yourself that maintaining an accurate record is your primary responsibility. B, practice assertive phrases beforehand. C, use nonverbal cues first when possible. Or D, build relationships with attorneys to make interactions more comfortable. What are your guys' thoughts on this one? And let's see, Merritt, I'm going to give you this one when they come through. And I'm going to go ahead and pop it over now. All right, so resoundingly, they said A, remind yourself that maintaining an accurate record is your primary responsibility. What are your thoughts?
I feel like this is one of those that I wanted to pick many of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, because definitely that, and also that, but also when you interrupt, reminding the participants that's why you're interrupting too. Like for the sake of a clean record, please speak one at a time, or for the please move closer to the microphone. Reminding them why you're interrupting also helps them be more okay with you interrupting. And practicing before, same thing as before, almost like your own little elevator speech for interrupting. And then nonverbal cues is super helpful too. I think that's great, especially with judges when you've been working with them often and you're in the room, you can give them a hand gesture and they know kind of what is an issue with the record, and they can sometimes resolve it. So yeah. And building relationships, I mean, there's so many reasons why it's important to do that, but also, yeah, it makes it more comfortable and they can understand that why you're caring to interrupt.
Yeah. I love how A feels like the resounding baseline of the answer. And because you have that you're reminding yourself, then you might do some of these other things too to help you get that extra push beyond that, right? Like, that you have to be brave and do it because you need that accurate record. So you do practice assertive phrases and get prepared, and, you do build relationships and things like that. So I feel like that's probably why A got so many votes on that side of it too, right? That's the baseline point of you having to take yourself out of your comfort zone. Very good. All right. Awesome. Well, let's see. We have a couple more questions we could do if we need to. So I will look at those. I'll keep the polls handy just in case we want to, but I want to also hop over to the questions. And I see, first of all, Kim, you've been rock starring it and answering questions for people. So thank you. Like, just batting them out there out of the park. So that's awesome. Let's see if the first one says, okay, if we are to be considered as qualified as a stenographer and produce the same product, why are digitals not paid the same? So great question, but we got to make sure that that's the case and all the time. I don't know if anyone wants to take a stab at that question first, or what your thoughts are around that.
I can probably address some of it. I don't know that I catch all of it, but for stenographers, our equipment costs are quite high. The software and the machine alone are over $10,000. You've got ongoing support costs that you pay. We pay for Scopus. We pay for, there's a whole raft of things that are coming out of that, and it's because our methods of doing things are different. The training is different. The investment at court reporting school is different. The pass rate is quite low, as you probably are aware. So there are a lot of factors, I think, that go into that sort of calculation. And so that's one reason.
Yeah. No, I appreciate your perspective on that. 100%. Thank you. And thank you for volunteering and popping in there and being the first to go for it. And there's a couple other too that I want to pull out in the question. So I saw they're scrolling through, but so Tori from Georgia said we're all paid the same. Allison, I'm not sure exactly where you're from, said they're all paid the same in my jurisdiction. I certainly know many where they are paid the same as well. And also I know ones where maybe things are different, but it depends on the pages, what's ordered, how it's by the hour, or it's a whole job, right? I mean, Merritt, do you have any thoughts or anything along that line too? It's kind of.
Yeah, I mean, when I used to work in the agency, it was like if the reporter did both the pages and the appearance, or the appearance and the pages, then it was the same depending on their certifications. But not all of them did both. So, but yeah, I do know, I know probably not always the case, but sometimes, I mean, from what I see and what I've been seeing in the comments, they are just depending on what your role is.
Yeah. So I think it's kind of a great thing to know from there to make sure that check around you. Let's not always assume just what we see online is the case for all too, right? So sometimes we might hear something said a lot and it's not necessarily the case. So find out, you might be surprised at the answer and have a pleasant thought on that too. And then let me see, I was looking at another, it looked like Minnesota is where the other place was where they're paid the same from Allison. Thank you, Allison, for that extra note. Okay, so we have another question. When we talked about voices over one another in a virtual, if you can't identify the voice, how do you capture that as an identification? Can anybody answer that one for us?
If there's a digital reporter there, then yes, you got to immediately interrupt, if I'm understanding the question correctly.
I
think they're saying
the same thing. Yeah, you'd have to interrupt, but on the transcriber side, it's not ideal, but I would just have an unknown speaker designation if the reporter didn't capture that.
And ask the reporter too, before needing to use that, but
Yeah. So mainly you're saying to speak up and ask who it is that's speaking, right? Because that was the original first answer for it.
The first line of defense is the reporter should address that immediately.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I think it goes back to one of the questions we had earlier about hearing other speakers, but sometimes in virtual you have a witness and then they have you can hear somebody speaking in the room, so or multiple voices. So definitely we would have to interrupt and ask, and usually the attorneys identify, is there somebody else with you in the room? Because obviously if you hear it, they're hearing it too. So it happens from time to time in virtual.
I did one last week with there were exactly 20 attorneys, the witness and the reporter. And fortunately, we had the attorneys, they just identified themselves anytime they had an objection. There was no other way of keeping track.
You got a funny emoji on that one. Someone was really feeling for you on that. Couple oh man, we feel your pain. That's quite a bit of work. Okay, so more of a comment than a question. I think AAERT has to advocate for digitals, particularly independent contractors. Absolutely. And that's absolutely happening. AAERT has been making some great strides and efforts And definitely would want to encourage anybody that wants to help out with that too. You can certainly volunteer. There is an advocacy committee. There's other committees and things like that too. So be involved. Even joining AAERT and being a member helps because we have greater numbers and we can be a prominent voice and things for stuff like that too. So by all means, absolutely, it's great to have the association, and we're so thankful, for that. And we also have committees like our associations like STAR and things like that too. So it's great to have, a community and get to know everybody. So great thoughts. You're just moving, or were you going to say something, Sandra? You're just moving. Okay. All right. Okay. I just wanted to make sure. All right. So let's see. What are your thoughts on a witness participating in a deposition while driving? Should the court reporter intervene and ask the witness to pull over? Oh man, I've seen some things on this. My favorite ones when the witness had they were on their phone and had it up to their ear the whole time. So literally we're just seeing in the camera their ear canal the whole time while they're in the car going through a gas station and stuff. Yeah.
I've seen interpreters in the car driving while they're interpreting.
Wow. Talk about multitasking because your brain's like on all kinds of points. Oh, it's scary.
I'll take a stab at it.
Yeah, please.
It's so uncomfortable because you feel so unsafe for them and you're like, you want to, but I do think it really is up to the attorneys at that point. So if anybody else has thoughts, please add to it, but I think it is up to the attorneys.
That's where my thoughts were. Go for it, Jess.
That's one I don't ever say anything.
Yeah.
I have to bite my tongue though because it bothers me. It seems so unsafe.
I mean, I've interrupted only because the person that was driving was honking in the scenario, and I couldn't hear because of the honking. It wasn't because of the driving, but at the end of the day, I wasn't interrupting because of the driving. But sometimes it is hard to hear when those situations with all the driving, and you can hear the background, like the motor or whatever it is. So I think it depends just as far for our jobs as if you can hear what the witness is saying, but it happens.
Do have some interesting ones. All right, let's see. We have another question in here from Kara K. How do you handle large meetings, non-depos, when it comes to identifying people during a Q&A session when you may not have their name? So great question. I had this kind of preceding myself, and man, they can really keep you on your toes. I know you've certainly had one, Sandra. Does anybody else want to speak up or say anything on this one?
Yeah, sometimes you can't possibly, you do a town hall meeting or something, you can't possibly get everybody's name. So you just have an unidentified speaker. I usually put U/I speaker in caps, colon. It's really, you could number them, I suppose, but you're not likely to get all their names. It's almost impossible. If you have a big, huge hearing where it's a legal hearing, I think you have to make the effort to either, I've had it where there's a whole bunch of attorneys on the phone and I tell them, please, say your name before you say anything, because I have no idea who's talking. I can't remember 20 people's names, as Sandra was saying. So if you're in person, I would make a map and go around and get everyone's names and make a map and kind of do the best you can. The first few that you do are really hard because your brain wants to blow up, and even when you're really experienced, you just get a little better at it, but only a little. But I rely on maps a lot, and and at some point I don't kill myself over it, because honestly, if someone said objection and I get the wrong person or I can't identify them, big deal. You have to put a bit of realism into these situations too. No one is going to die if you don't identify who said objection.
Yeah, these group meetings, town meetings, at least they don't carry that weight with them, thankfully, right? Like, yeah, and I love that too, as far as talking it over beforehand to make sure whoever's running the meeting can make an announcement before it starts to make sure people identify themselves before they speak. Yeah. Okay.
Even at that, oh, sorry, Tamara, I was just going to say,
No,
even
you're
at
good.
that, yeah, if you don't get the spellings and all of that, like, again, my name is Lester Pascaroska Rocket. I don't know how you spell that. I'll just take a stab. I'll probably put Lester P and that'll be it, like, I mean, again, dose of realism. It's more important what they're saying probably than necessarily who's saying it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. All right. So we do have well, Carolyn has a statement, not really a question, and I'm kind of rounding out to where I need to wrap up the webinar. So I'm not keeping you guys late, but just to recognize what she has in there. Absolutely. That's great. That's why it's so important to have your elevator speech and what you want to say to people, because some attorneys don't know what digitals do. So to educate them, that's perfect scenario right there where we can help educate and let them know what a trained professional you are, and that you absolutely care and have your full concern for the record, and having the backup and precautionary measures in there too. So thank you for sharing that, Carolyn. Absolutely.
Carolyn, to your point, you wrote a
Sorry,
reporter
I
who
didn't mean to-
doesn't. Oh, you're fine. A reporter who doesn't need a backup. All methods of reporting use backup reporting. So feel confident that we're not the only ones reporting audio, and we all need a backup, because we all need to make sure we do as best that we can to create a verbatim record.
Yeah, yeah,
If it
perfect.
was 1985, it might be true.
Yeah, where there wasn't,
Definitely
but
not
even
true.
my mom, a steno back then, did have a cassette.
Okay, so Laura, just on your thing, it looks like it's very heavily on the transcription base. By the way, thank you for taking the BlueLedge transcription class. It might not be in time for you, but our next webinar is going to be for working through transcription dilemmas and hard topics and things like that. So you can have that, would help, absolutely help you. In addition to that, we have a prior webinar where we had a comma corner. I think, was it on our last webinar? I'm trying to remember. But Natalie, our legal transcription instructor, had a corner on that where she talked specifically about how to deal with commas and things. So take a look at that on our on-demand in the webinar. That'll help you too. Otherwise, you have your amazing instructor you can reach out to for your class, and she'll help you answer that too. But I don't want to jump off before saying thank you so much to the panel. You guys are amazing, being on the spot and going through all the different thoughts and scenarios. Thank you for your braveness and for your sense of community and mentorship. We appreciate that very much. And thank you to the audience. Thanks for all your support and all the emojis and everything. We all do see those, the panelists, everybody, we all see them. So it's so appreciated. Thank you. Thank you so much. And for any questions out there that were outstanding, we didn't get, we'll certainly find a way to make sure to answer those for you too. But I hope everyone had a good night, and I hope you have a great rest of the week. And I guess we'll sign off. So
Good
goodbye,
night.
everybody.
Thank you.